I want you to look at this website, and I'd like you, in looking at this website, to basically tell me what you think the function of this company is. Think about it. You don't have to tell me, obviously, but what does Accenture do? If you guess that they are possibly consultants and telling you how to organize your organization, you would be correct. Let's talk about delegation. Delegation assigns part of a manager's work, responsibilities, and power to other workers. Let's talk about some of the steps involved in delegating. 1. Responsibility. You have to give someone, as a manager, the duty to do a job or perform a task. 2. Authority. You have to give somebody the power within an organization to accomplish that task or that job. Think about it. If you have ever been given a responsibility to do something without having the authority to do it, very often people are not going to respond to you. Accountability is the obligation of a worker to accomplish an assigned job or task. Now, there are certain barriers to delegation. There are certain reasons why delegating doesn't work correctly. 1, many managers are reluctant to delegate because they want to be sure that the work gets done, so they do it all themselves. Number 2, a manager fears that if someone does the work so well, he or she is going to attract the notice of top management and basically become a threat to that manager. And last but not least, some managers are so disorganized that they don't have the ability to plan and assign work effectively. Next, we're going to talk about decentralization of authority. This diagram basically shows you what the steps are in granting someone responsibility and delegating. Basically speaking, you have to give someone the authority to do the job in addition to giving them the job to do. Otherwise, the work will not get done. Decentralized authority. Okay? An organization in which management consciously attempts to spread authority widely in the lower levels of that organization is called a decentralized organization. An organization that's committed to keeping the authority at the upper levels of that organization is called a centralized organization. All right. When is it better to have a decentralized organization? Think about that. A variety of factors basically influence the extent to which a firm is decentralized. Number 1, the riskier or the more important the decision, the greater the tendency is for the top decision makers to make it. So it's likely to be more centralized. And the other factor is the ability of the lower level managers to make decisions. In principle, neither decentralization nor centralization is right or wrong. What works for one organization may not work for another organization. Next, we're going to talk about the span of management. The span of management has to do with the number of people that report directly to one manager. A wide span of management, like you see on the left-hand side of the diagram, exists when a manager has a large number of subordinates. A narrow span of management happens when each manager is only responsible for a few subordinates. That creates the difference between organizational height, flat and tall organizations. Organizational height is basically the number of layers or levels of management in a firm. If a span of management is wider, fewer levels are needed than if the organization is flat. If the spans of management are narrow, more levels are needed, and the resulting organization is tall. Think of it like a pyramid. In a taller organization, the administrative costs become higher because communication happens among many levels of managers, and you have to make sure that that communication is accurate and not distorted. All managers in a flat organization, on the other hand, have to perform many administrative duties because there are fewer managers. Give me an example. Think of an example of a tall organization. If you thought of the court system as a tall organization, you would be correct because there are many different types of courts, and getting a decision rejected at one level may sometimes get you an acceptance at a level higher. There are many levels there that you can go through because there's a lot of risk involved in certain decisions. On the other hand, your school might be an example of a flat organization. Teachers make a lot of those decisions. There might be one or two assistant principals, and on top of that there is a principal. But basically most of the decision making is concentrated at the lowest levels. Next we're going to talk about, in part 4, we're going to talk about the chain of command and the difference between line and staff management.